Warning. Warning.
Mike here from Tires to Go, and today I'm going to inform you about the amazing tools that Tires to Go provide to get the customers what they need. As you know, we have the real same as cash, but we also have Snap financing. We use Snap pretty much to provide the customers the same equipment as they were buying cash on payments. Isn't that amazing? Pretty much what we do, you come indoors, we get you the application right away, we'll get you approved, and we'll get you the safe, affordable tires that you need and pay it off in 3 months. Simple, easy, affordable. Why not come to Tires to Go, where you get the real, same as cash.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Bucs Report, Sports Talk 49, live every Tuesday at 3:30. I'm your host, Blake Anthony, giving it to you. And as always, when you look at your watch and you see it's when you know it's 3:30, when you look at your watch, it's time to pick up your phone and turn into Sports Talk. Today is going to be full and exciting today because we got two guests today. One legendary, another legendary. One all the way from Pittsburgh, was here last week. Allison Koehler, and I got the legend, Mike Deeson, in the waiting room down here. But let's get through the preliminary process first, where I get these guys on here and we talk about all the topics today and what Mike Deeson has going on and what Allison has going on with camp and pads coming on and everything. So it's going to be a real exciting day. But before we get into all that, make sure you guys check out all the other great show here on Bucs Report. You got all these other shows here tonight. Al Keck coming with Cam Rate interview. And some other guests he's got going on. And of course, you got Peter Blake and the Sports Web finishing up the night tonight all the way till midnight. You know, Peter does his 3-hour shows and that and all that. So with all due respect, and let me get everybody in here. Let me bring in Allison. Allison, how you doing?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Great. How are you?
Swell. I am really swell.
I said, well, we got a treat. From a duo, we went to a trio. So now we got Mr. Mike Deeson coming in here with his legendary status, 12-time Emmy-winning investigative reporter, owner of Deeson Media. He's got a documentary coming out. He's got books. He's got everything. But most importantly, with all that being said, it's just a great overall man. Let me just stop hyping it up and let him get him on the damn camera. Mr. Mike Deeson, there you go. How you doing, sir?
Blake, how are you? It's good to be with you. It's always great to be with you. You got to understand, Blake and I go way, way back, right?
Yeah, we go way back to all the way smuggling in hot dogs in the football games.
I want to hear that story.
Well, the story was very simple. It was a night game. I was hoping to get to the tailgate that my son and Blake were putting together. Blake's a friend of my son Andrew, and I had a late story at the TV station, and I couldn't get there. So I parked my car, and Blake and my son were waiting right in front of gate D, and I hadn't had dinner yet because I came from the TV station. My son had 2 hot dogs, and I couldn't snarf them down quickly enough before the game because he wanted to be there for kickoff. So I put them in my pockets, and the metal detectors never picked them up.
That's good. There was no metal in your hot dog. So
There was
that's
no,
good.
but Allison, I also did a story when they started with the metal detectors about the fact that someone could take a plastic bomb and get into the stadium with no problems. Because I talked to some FBI friends that I had who said that the problem with the metal detectors is it protects people inside the stadium, but as the people queue up outside, it doesn't do much good. And so I strapped a bunch of pencils to my pants, inside my pants, about the size of what my FBI friends told me would be a plastic bomb, and they never got that either. The folks at the Bucs weren't real happy with me, or the sports authority. But I was just trying to show that there's a false sense of security there with the metal detectors, and you've got the big queue of people right as you go into the stadium beforehand, and that's actually the most dangerous spot, according to my FBI friends.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I'll have to remember that. That's
yeah.
crazy.
So it's sort of a crazy thing, and hopefully we'll never have to deal with that. But I just felt that as an investigative reporter, I had because my FBI friends were saying, "Man, this is not gonna solve the problem." But fortunately, we haven't had any incidents.
Right.
Not gonna work.
Exactly.
And you take risk like that. That's why you're a 12-time Emmy-winning investigative reporter. See, as Arians would say, no risk it, no biscuit. There you go. You risked it.
That's right. That's right.
So, Mike, in your retirement, or if you want to call it that, you call it retirement, non-retirement. You got all this great stuff going on. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find it, since you've served the Tampa Bay media for such a long time? I'm not going to do you like Al Keck with 40 years of reporting in the Tampa Bay area. But we'll just say you're a seasoned veteran. And,
I was at Channel 10 before Al came. No, I listen. I'm an old fart. I had my first job in radio in 1966. I had my first job in TV in 1968. And back then we shot stories on black and white wind-up Bell and Howell cameras. So, yeah, I have been doing this a really long time. I have been blessed. I've been in the Tampa Bay area since the early 80s. And one of the things that I did in my sort of called retirement, when I stopped doing daily TV, is I wrote a book. And here, I'll show it to you. It's called Bad News for You is Good News for Me. And
great title.
And it's available on Amazon. But anyhow, there's a lot of stories in here, sports stories too. There's stories about the sale of the Bucs from August 25th, 1994 until the stadium opened. I did 50% of my stories about the Bucs, about the potential sale of the Bucs, about the potential move of the Bucs, the Glazer push to get a new stadium. The sports department didn't cover that. Sports department did hits, runs, and errors, but we did all the intricacies of getting a new stadium or getting a new owner and how that all came about. I went to every NFL meeting. I went to place. I was in Cleveland, Chicago, all over the country, covering this stuff. And there's also stories in the book about the Rays and Vince Namoli's purchase of first the San Francisco Giants. We went out to San Francisco for the final 2 weeks of the baseball season after Namoli bought the Giants, and everybody thought that it was going to happen. As a matter of fact, people on the Giants were asking me, including Will Clark. Remember Will Clark, the all-star first baseman for them? Where's a good place to live in Tampa? What's it like? What are the restaurants? I mean, they all thought that the Giants were moving to Tampa. And as a matter of fact, on that final game at Candlestick Park, I was there. Two things stood out to me. One, there was a trio, an a cappella female trio that sang the national anthem. It was beautiful, but fans in the stand, many of whom had been season ticket holders forever, were standing there rather, with tears running down their eyes. It really was touching. Now I was excited because we were getting the baseball team, but still in all. And then after the game was over, people sat there just because, as far as they knew, the Giants, that was the last game that the Giants were ever going to play in San Francisco. What happened was Major League Baseball would not allow the Giants to move. They found another owner, the guy who was the major stockholder of Safeway. And actually, they bought it for a lesser price than the Moley had offered to buy the Giants. And then baseball, Nomoli threatened to sue them with a thing I learned all about called tortious interference. It's a legal term meaning that some outside party has come and interfered with the financial deal. And baseball said, don't sue us, you'll eventually get a team. And Nomoli went to file the suit, and baseball said, you know what, we think we're going to expand. And he had not filed that suit, I don't believe that we would have had the Rays here. And had the stadium not passed, I don't believe we would have the Bucs here. So, but those are some of the sports stories. Plus, I covered 5 Super Bowls. The best, of course, being the one in San Diego, where we sent 18 people out there to cover the game. After the game, it was just, well, there are a couple of really good stories there. The week was just wonderful. It was just a wonderful week being out in San Diego. And then after the game, I'm in the locker room doing interviews with everybody. And Brian Glazer comes up to me. And I mean, he's sky high. And he goes, and I'd covered them for so long. He goes, Mike, can an owner give a reporter a hug? I said, give me one, man. Give me one. It was just, and the other great thing is at the end of the game, in the fourth quarter, everybody who's going to go onto the field after the game had to assemble in the tunnel underneath. And the NFL provides, you've seen the photographers wear those stupid vests, various color vests. Well, everybody that night had a purple vest. I still have it. And we're waiting to go on the field. And Ron Jaworski, Jaws, was working for ABC and ESPN. And Jaworski goes down into the tunnel, and he's going to go onto the field. And the security guy goes, you don't have a vest on. You can't go down on the field. And Jaworski, who was really nice, he goes, look, man, I'm not trying to be a horrible person, but you understand ABC, ESPN has paid a lot of money to cover the game. When it ends, they expect me to be on the field, and they're going to toss it to me. And the guy goes, you don't have a purple vest. You can't go onto the field. So we're all assembled there watching this. And a VP from the NFL walks by, sees Jaworski, and he goes, Jaws, how you doing? He goes, well, we're having a little bit of a problem getting on the field. The guy from the NFL went nuts on this poor security guard. Do you know who this is? Do you know who this is? Let him on the field or leave right now. I will personally escort you out of here, blah, blah, blah. Jaworski got on the field, as did we all after the game. But that was without a doubt the best Super Bowl that I ever covered. And let me tell you one other Super Bowl story. The first Super Bowl here in Tampa was back in 1984 when the Redskins, who had won the year before, they beat Miami, played the Raiders. And I had a really good friend. I worked in Norfolk for 10 years before I came here. And I had a really good friend who was a sports producer. We had worked together in Norfolk. He was a sports producer for one of the Washington TV stations. And we went out to dinner one night between their early show and their late show. And we come back, and the NFL headquarters for the Skins was the Marriott up on West Shore Boulevard in Cyprus. They've gone to fancier digs these days. But anyway, we come back from dinner, and in the, I guess, gym area, it's not a really fancy gym area, there is John Riggins in a white suit like he's from Saturday Night Fever in the hot tub, passed out like this. And I said to my friend, I think the Skins are enjoying this a little bit too much. And they got killed by the Raiders. And now Riggins, to his credit, he was the leading rusher for the Skins, only one to score a touchdown, but he was sort of a professional drinker. The other guys, he passed out once with Sandra Day O'Connor, at her feet at a big event in DC.
Oh, my Lord.
And she said something as he's lying on the floor, and Rick looked up at her and he said, "Lighten up, Sandy."
My God.
So anyway, those are my favorite. But there's all sorts of other Super Bowl stories in there, and of course investigative stories and different things like that. But there's a lot of sports stories because I was fortunate enough to, whenever there was a news angle to sports, I got to cover it. So it was great.
So Mike, Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski come here. Can you believe it that they're actually here? Do you believe that actually happened?
You know, it is so ironic. I mean, it's so wonderful that they are here, but in the most unusual, bizarre circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a season ticket holder, as you know, since the ugly orange creamsicle days. But I am concerned that fans are not going to be able to be in the stands for the games. I have a very dear friend who was one of my fraternity brothers and college roommates that I did my first broadcast ever with in 1966. He has been the play-by-play guy of the Dallas Cowboys for almost 40 years. His name is Brad Sham. He is just terrific. And I also do a radio show myself on WMNF, and we had Brad on as a guest a couple of weeks ago. And I asked Brad, do you think we're going to have fans in the stands? He said, I think we will have football. I don't think we'll have fans in the stands. In Chicago this week, just announced the Bears will not allow fans in the stands. The Raiders in Las Vegas. And I got my letter from the Bucs saying, well, we really don't know what we're doing yet. But it's going to, and I sit in the first 6 rows, which they're going to tarp off. So I guess we're going to be watching home games on TV, which I think since the stadium was open, I've missed 3 games. I missed Lawton Childs, the governor, died, and they sent me to Tallahassee that I had to leave on a Sunday, so I didn't make that home game. It was against Pittsburgh. I missed on my 50th high school reunion, and there was the other game I missed was when the Rays won the pennant against the Red Sox, and it was a Sunday night game, and I was covering the Rays with the pennant drive. And I had tickets also. And I said to my son, Andrew, you want to go to the Rays game? You want to go to the Bucs game? He said, I'm really torn. I said, we get to go to Bucs games all the time. The Rays do not get into a pennant fight every day of the week. So we chose to go to the Rays game that night against the Red Sox, which was just a thrilling game as well. So I've done the book. I'm also, I just finished, I started an investigative documentary company, and I just finished a project that I've been working on for 2 years. It's called Broken, the documentary. It's about elephants being abused in circuses across the country. A lot of people think because Ringling closed, there are no longer circuses. There are circuses. They beat the hell out of the elephants, not only in training, but in the way they keep them. And all. So I spent the past 2 years traveling the country doing that documentary, and then as I said, I do the radio show on WMNF and a podcast. So it's fair to say I suck at retirement, but I'm loving every minute of it. And then every once in a while, I get to hit a little white ball and swear and play a little golf. Whoa. The other day, I played with Dave Worth, who used to be our sports director at Channel 10, with Reggie Roundtree, who used to be our main anchor, and Mark Douglas, who was the investigative reporter over at Channel 8. So we spent 4 hours telling lies and hitting golf balls.
That's the best time to tell lies is on the golf course or so.
Absolutely, Allison. So
it's right. That's the place where you embellish stories a little bit, where something was 1 mile and then turns into 5. You gotta boost up the story a little bit there, make it more epic.
Everything in the book is true. I researched everything. Everything in here is true. So and then I'll plug it one more time. Then I won't. But it's available on Amazon if you want to see it. Just go for either Mike Deeson or Bad News for You is Good News for Me, and you can find it on Amazon.
Well, it sounds like good news for the Tampa Bay area. People who want to check that out, so it'll be bad news if they miss it. So
That's
you guys
right.
make sure to check that out.
Nice what you did there, Blake. Very nice. Very
You know I'm very good with my words. You know, my sister from another mister. You know what I mean?
So Allison, you're in Pittsburgh?
Actually, no, I live in Tampa, but I cover the Steelers for USA Today Steelers Wire.
Wow.
Yes.
That must be fun.
It is. Oh, it's great fun because I'm a Steelers fan. So even though I'm working,
Yeah.
it doesn't really, as I'm sure most of your career has been, if you love it, you're not really, you don't really feel like you're ever working.
I never worked a day in my life.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Did you get to go to the Super Bowl here with the Steelers and the Cardinals? Were you in the Tampa Bay area at that time?
No. Actually, I was living in Detroit at the time, so I didn't get to go. I was really bummed. Actually, I just moved to Detroit when the Steelers and the Seahawks were playing from Ford Field, and
wow.
I didn't get to go. I just didn't have, I couldn't afford it, but it was really great I went down there, as you'd mentioned, Media Week. During the Super Bowl week is super huge. So I got to go downtown Detroit and, just kind of, take in the moment. It was just the energy in Detroit at that time was just, really amazing. And a lot of complaints because, it's cold in Detroit.
Yeah, I worked in Flint, Saginaw, and Jackson, Michigan.
Oh, okay. So
I
right.
am very well. I love being in Florida. Yes,
right. Yeah, me too. I was so surprised that I moved down here in the heat of summer a couple of years ago, and I was really surprised at how quickly I acclimated and how much I loved it. Like I went back to Michigan in January, like the following year, and I was like, woo, you know what I mean? Like, and I hadn't even been gone that long. I really just, your blood just adjusts so quickly, to the difference in temperature.
I can always cool down. But I can't get warm when I was doing when the Bucs were looking to move and all or threatening to move. There was an NFL meeting in Cleveland in December, and I had to do a stand-up. That's where you see the reporter on camera at the old Memorial Stadium, which is right on Lake Erie. It was 10 degrees temperature, I think a bazillion degrees below with the wind chill. Snow was coming. I couldn't get the words out. And I finally had a cohesive sentence. And the photographer said to me, listen, your hair looked like crap. I think we need to do another take. I said, let me explain something. They didn't hire me for pretty. I said, I had a cohesive sentence. I didn't say any bad words, which I was saying every time I screwed it up. I said, let's get the hell out of here and into a nice warm car. And he went, God bless you, Mike Deeson. God bless you.
God bless you.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
So I have a question, with people doing reporting and things like that. I don't know if you heard about Deion Sanders leaving NFL Network, going into Barstool Sports. Why would somebody do something like that? Going from such, I would say, NFL Network is, I guess, more profound place than Barstool Sports. Why would somebody make a move like that so sudden? In your professional opinion?
Well, one of two or three things. One, it could have been money. Barstool could have said, we want somebody like Deion Sanders and we will pay for him to come to us. Two, maybe his bosses at ESPN, and I can't imagine this because I thought he did a great job, but sometimes you run into a boss or a producer you don't get along with. Maybe they wanted him out. Or three, maybe he didn't like his boss, producer, or whomever, right, and said, I don't need to put up with this. I'm Deion Sanders. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. But my number one bet is they paid him a ton of dough.
Money always talks. Money always makes you feel better about things. And Deion was definitely about his money, and probably still is about his money today.
That's honestly, don't you agree, Allison? That's got to be
definitely. Yeah, it's always about the money. But I did hear that he felt like he had more leeway with, what he could say and what he could do at Barstool Sports because, NFL Network is, they're very, I would imagine they're very they follow, you know what I mean? Like they're not as
right.
But so Deion wants to be able to do his Deion thing, and you know how outspoken Deion is, and he has more freedom. I understand he has more freedom going with a digital media company like Barstool Sports as opposed to NFL Network. So money played a big role in that. There's no doubt about that.
There's no question. I mean, it's even like when I retired from doing daily TV, and I loved what I was doing, but I still had to do some stories that I didn't like, or they wouldn't do the stories I wanted to do, or something like that. Now I'm my own boss. I mean, I only do projects that I want to do, and it's and we had planned for it. Listen, I'm old. I'm going to be 72 this year, so it was time for me. But now I just do things I want to do and have a good time. I don't do it for the money, although I do insist on getting paid by my clients. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But I just do things that I like to do. And it could have been that thing with Deion that he wanted to do certain things and couldn't, you know?
Yep.
So, you know what question I'm going to ask, being you've worked in television all these years. Is there a script, or like, is there a what's the word I'm looking for? A format stuff that they want you to push, an objective they want you to push in news and in broadcasting, or is it more where you guys can do your own thing, but there's a certain guidelines to it? I know a lot of people believe that news medias have their own objectives they push. I don't know how much you could say about it or not, or whatever.
I am an open book. Here is. Let me talk from the investigative unit.
All right.
So much time there. We went through a lot of scrutiny. We would have a meeting once a week. Everybody who was in our investigative unit, Noah Pransky was in there, another investigator along with me, and Bo Zimmer, Don Zimmer's grandson, who always had great stories about his grandpa, and the photographers and the producers and our news director, and we would all pitch stories. And the only one agenda was on the table. Will that story attract viewers? There was no political thing. And if they would reject a story, they would say, we don't think that'll resonate with the viewers. Sometimes they would go, yeah, we love that story. No, we hate that story, or not right now. But I would fight. I was a pain in the butt. There was one story that I did that I started working. They didn't want it right away, and I started working on it in something like the early summer of 2012, and it didn't get on the air till March or April of 2013 because they kept rejecting it and said nobody's interested, blah 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 blah. Well, it won a bunch of Emmys, it won a bunch of awards and all that stuff, and it got huge ratings when it ran. So I would argue with them, but there was no political agenda. All they wanted was are there going to be eyeballs? That's all they care about. It's money oriented. That's what I found it to be.
Even it's still that way in the digital world. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's all about clicks and views and advertisers and getting paid, and so that definitely makes sense in terms of if it bleeds, it leads. So to speak.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Well, there was a station in San Francisco that actually, when Namoli bought the Giants, we were an ABC affiliate. Allison, this was before you were in this market, but there was a huge network shift, and happened in a lot of cities, in Detroit as well, I believe, not in Pittsburgh, but in this market. When I first came to work here in 1982, Channel 10, WTSP, was an ABC affiliate. Fox 13 was the CBS affiliate. Channel 28 was 13 was the CBS affiliate, 28 was the Fox station, and 8 was the NBC affiliate, which they stayed. Somewhere in the 90s, everything switched. But when Namoli bought the Giants, we were still an ABC affiliate. And we worked out of a station in San Francisco for 2 weeks called KGO. And they used to say KGO, that's an ABC O&O. For those of you not in TV, it means owned and operated. So ABC owned it. But they said KGO stood for killings, guts, and orgasms. If it bleeds, it leads. And they were the #1 station in San Francisco,
Yeah.
It's sort of like people say, I hate negative political ads,
Right.
but everybody runs them. You know why? Because they work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the agenda. But there's no politics, at least at our station. And there are some stations that have a political agenda.
Right.
Very few. It's advertisers, like Allison said. It's just, get as many eyeballs as you can, as many clicks as you can on it. That's and listen, sports is like that too. When you think about it, that's why teams fire GMs, they fire coaches. I mean, they want to win, obviously, but you know what they want? They want the fans to have their butts in the seats at the stadiums, and if you don't win, look at the difference of the attendance at the Bucs games. From our Super Bowl years and when Gruden and Dungy were here compared to the last couple of years. Now, I'm there all the time. I'm a Bucs fan through and through, but a lot of people weren't. And that's true of everybody. But sometimes they pull the trigger too soon. Like I think in Pittsburgh, the fact that they've kept Mike Tomlin there so long is a testimony, first of all, to the Rooney family, probably the finest group of people in football these days. Although I got to say, I think the Glazers get a bad rap sometimes. I know Brian best of all of them, and we've run into each other in Publix after a football game. And if they lose, I mean, we stand there in the aisle talking like just two fans about it. It kills him when they lose, and if they win, he's ecstatic. But they want to get fans in the stands. I mean, because that's where the money comes from. It is. We forget at times as sports fans, it's a business.
Yes. First and foremost, definitely, it's all about the money for sure. But it's gonna. And it's so sad, like with the pandemic. Whether the Buccaneers decide, what capacity they're going to have fans, if at all. Just the fact that that's one of the main reasons, like you said, why they brought Brady and Gronkowski to Tampa was to get butts in the seats, and it would be really unfortunate that their first season in Tampa, if they can't have fans in the stadium. So,
it reminds me, I don't know if you recall, but back in the Ugly Orange Creamsicle days, the Bucs had the first draft pick and picked Bo Jackson years and years and years ago. You didn't know that. Yeah,
I knew that.
Bo Jackson.
I knew that. Bo said he wasn't going to come.
And Bo said he wasn't going to come. And the ownership group and the GM said, he doesn't mean that. Once we draft him, he'll come here. He'll be great. And that's when Bo played baseball. And he said, nope, I'm not coming. So everybody's excited. First draft pick, Bo Jackson, who was, a megastar. He never made it here. So in some ways, it's ironic. Here we have, what some will say is the GOAT of quarterbacks, and I sit on the 30-yard line and I'm planning to, be seeing everything. And now we might not be able to be there in person, That kills me.
And speaking of that, one of our other guys here at Bucs Report posted Gillette Stadium's not going to have fans either in September.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna check that out and see what the stipulations with that is, but it goes to show what we were just talking about earlier about the pandemic and money and things like that. And if you guys are just tuning in, this is Sports Talk 49 live on BucsReport.com. You got Mike Deeson, 12-time Emmy Award winner, investigative reporter, Allison Killshot Koehler, USA Today, Twitter's Steelers Wire. Make sure to check these guys out, and they'll give you all their information near the end of the show. But we're not going anywhere because Mike Deason's got plenty more for us.
Talking has never been a problem for me.
Well, especially in your line of work, if it was a problem for you, I think that would be the problem.
Yeah. But, Allison, I started out in sports, actually. And I think I told you this, Blake, maybe not. When I graduated college, in 1970, there were just 16 Major League Baseball teams, 14 NFL teams, 6 hockey teams, and there were like 3 network stations in every city that would have a sports director and a weekend sports guy. So the jobs in sports were extremely limited. So I decided that I would make the switch from sports news. But during my sports career, when I was in Jackson, Michigan, I figured this out when Tony Dungy got here. When I did the football games on the radio of the high schools in Jackson, Michigan, and I broadcast some of the games where Tony Dungy was the quarterback. I mean, I didn't remember this at the time, but where Tony Dungy was the quarterback of his high school team. I told him that later on when he was coach of the Bucs. And so I broadcast Tony Dungy when he was in Jackson, Michigan. Also, when I was there, I was at, Allison, you'd be familiar with Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is right outside of Ann Arbor. I did a football game with one of the Jackson high school teams, and the fog rolled in, and I couldn't see past the 40-yard line on either side of the field. So I got some high school kids, and I said, here's the deal. You're going to be part of broadcast history. When it gets past the 40, after each play, you guys take turns, run up to the booth, whisper in my ear, like number 35, 5 yards up the middle. And then I'd recreate it, 35, because I could not see past the 40-yard line on either side. Wow. But I did my share of sports and always enjoyed it. But I'm glad I made the turn over to news, because I think investigative reporting is the best job in all of journalism.
I think you started a little trend there, Mike. Johnny Dean, one of our fans that are always here. Everyone is going to be hanging out at Publix now, looking for Brian Glazer after games. So now you put official hit on Brian Glazer at Publix. Now I'm just glad you didn't say which one. You just said Publix.
Let me tell you. Publix doesn't need our business. They're doing okay. But let me tell you another great story with Brian. After the Bucs won the Super Bowl, they One Buck Place hadn't been built yet, so they were training over at the Wide World of Sports over with Disney. So I was over there for training camp, and I see Brian, and he's got the Super Bowl ring. And he shows it to me. He says, "What do you think? What do you think?" I said, "This is great." And Brian goes, "Would you like to wear it?" And I went, "Yeah, of course I would." He takes it off his hand, gives it to me. He says, "Wear it for a couple of minutes. Come back and give it to me." That was, I mean, he's a real person. You know, at least that's how I know him as a real person. And despite what people want to say, they really want to win. I really believe they want to be. I'm not trying to be a homer. I mean, I just know how these guys are, and I've seen them, you know. So, and now they've done some boneheaded things too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I think that there's no question they want to win. Obviously, bringing in Bruce Arians, I thought was a very cool move. When they got Gruden, I mean, I hated to see Tony go. I did too. But what they had to do to get Gruden, it brought us a Super Bowl here. Now, we might have won the Super Bowl with Tony as well, but we had a lot of disappointments. I'll tell you, the most disappointing was that St. Louis game with the Bert Emanuel catch. That was just, I was sitting, speaking of Al Keck, who'll be on later, I was sitting next to Al Keck in the press box in the, what was it, the TWA Dome? Is that what it's called? Wherever St. Louis played, where the Rams played. And, they're driving. They throw the pass to Emmanuel. And I turned to Al, and we both said to each other, "Hey, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to be going to Atlanta right after." And then there's a timeout, and nobody in the press box, I mean, nobody had any idea what was going on. And it was like forever. And then they said it was not a catch because the Bert Emanuel rule. And then the next play was an incomplete pass, and then bam, and they lost it. That was the most depressing locker room I have ever been in sports after a game. Everybody, Tony was depressed. Rich McKay, it was depressed. Remember, Rich was the GM, and Rich did a great job, I thought. Here, he and Gruden didn't get along, but Rich helped bring Tony here and bring so many, and Brooks. And Sapp and Lynch, that's Rich McKay. So, but that whole locker room, everybody felt like their guts were torn out. They thought that they were going to win that game. So, but we had all those disappointments with Philadelphia.
Couldn't get past Philly.
You couldn't. Although the final game, I didn't go to the playoff game against Philadelphia because I knew what they were trying to spread it around. I knew I was going to the Super Bowl if we won. So I had a bunch of friends over at the house, and when Rondé Barber made the interception that is my number one all-time Bucs play, I was screaming. Besides, go, Ronnie! I'm going to the Super Bowl. It's like I'm going to Disney World afterwards. But I'm screaming among my friends, I'm going to the Super Bowl. I'm going to San Diego. It still brings goosebumps to my arms. It was just the greatest moment in Buck history, as far as I'm concerned.
And I think we talked about that a couple of times here on Bucs Report. What is your most memorable moment here? And a lot of people said that moment. That moment is Tampa Bay's staple, that interception running down the sideline. You know the game is over. Rondé Barber showboating on his way to the end zone. You knew right then. It was almost the same as Pittsburgh where James Harrison caught the pick in the end zone.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, is his legs going to hold out? Is his legs going to hold out?
Yeah.
He's stumbling. He's rumbling. Touchdown.
That was amazing. And then him just laying on the field after he was laying on the field, just looked like he was going to die, and it was just it was an amazing moment, that's for sure.
How did you become a Steeler fan, Allison? You grew up in Detroit?
Well, actually, I was born in Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
My parents were born and raised in Pittsburgh, and when my dad got a job as air traffic controller in Oberlin, Ohio, they moved to Ohio, and they just, it's once you're a Steelers fan, that never really goes away. So even though they were in Cleveland Browns territory, they remain Steelers fans. So I was raised to bleed, the black and gold. But
wow.
But I have a lot of Browns fans friends, and you had mentioned earlier how you've stood by the Bucs, and Blake has stood by the Bucs through the good and the bad. Cleveland is the same way.
Oh yeah,
their fans are die hard. I mean, miserable years, and the fans just really stick by them. So that's really impressive to see. And
Detroit had nothing to write home about when you were Well, when I was in Michigan, I'm trying to think when it was. It was the early '70s. Sometimes I was sports director. It's a radio TV station. I did radio and I did TV, and I was sports director of the TV station. And Joe Schmidt, who was a great linebacker with the Lions, but then was head coach. He was not a great head coach. And I remember beginning my sportscast every Monday night going, Joe, what the heck were you thinking yesterday when you did this bonehead play or that bonehead play? They were just terrible back then, Yeah, I feel a little bad for Matt Stafford. I mean, he's a pretty solid quarterback, and he just hasn't been on very good team. So success before he retires. But
how Mike, back in your time, how was it? How hard was it to get stories through the legal departments and things like that? Or like
well, with my investigative stories, here's what would happen. I've got to go ahead and do a story. So I research it. I do all the interviews. I would write it. And then it would go, and sometimes I would write it with our investigative unit producer, but mostly I would write it. Then our investigative unit producer would look at the story, might make some changes. Then it would go to our executive producer, who would look at it, make some changes. Then it would go to either our assistant news director or our news director. And then it would go to our Washington attorney, who we would have a conference call, and I'd be on the witness stand. And we would go line by line over the story, and he would say to me, what paperwork do you have to back this up? What paperwork do you have to back this up? And I always had the paperwork. I was a paperwork freak. I was sued a bunch of times. Never lost any of the lawsuits because I had all the information. It was the truth is a defense on that. But we went over everything to make sure that it was legally right. And if I didn't have the paperwork to back it up, then I couldn't say that line on the air. So it went through a lot of scrutiny before it ever hit the air.
That's interesting. For all those journalists and guys who are getting interested in do things like that, investigative sports, any type of investigative, you heard it right there from a legend himself, that what the processes that you had to go through to get these stories out. You can't just make facetious stories, and because it ruins people's reputation. If people hear the word or heard of the phrase defamation of character, that's where those things come into play like that. Me on the legal side, I know a lot about that stuff.
Right.
So so that's where that comes into important for those who do, especially you, Allison, which I'm sure you're aware of most of that stuff. But it's good hearing stuff like that, and a lot of people from Bucs Report that write they'll take a lot of notes from you today, Mike, because you're great in this community and just a great man overall. Beside all those accolades and those gold medals behind you there,
You're too.
Very, very well placed.
you don't need a green screen like me when you got those. I see all that gold behind you. He said, "Oh, those things." I have been very, very fortunate. It's nice to get recognition from your peers, but I want to say the people in the Tampa Bay area have been so wonderful to me and so nice to me that I always felt when I was doing stories, I tried to be their representative. I did a lot of stories about elected officials or public employees that were scamming the system or thought they were better than everybody else. And I always tried to think of myself as the people's representative. And because they would get irritated about it, but they couldn't do anything about it. But I could. I'll tell you a funny story. I think a funny story, interesting. But I used to go. I live off of West Shore, and the TV station's on Gandy Boulevard in St. Pete. I live in Tampa. And I used to, when I would go to the station each morning, stop at the Circle K on Gandy and West Shore. The manager of the Circle K was a guy by the name of Harry, who was about 10 years older than me, maybe a little even older than that. He was an avid Channel 10 viewer. And some mornings I would walk in and I would think the night before I did the greatest story, and it was just wonderful. And I'd walk in and I'd get crickets from Harry. Mike, how you doing? How you doing? And then some days the night before I thought, well, it was an okay story, but it wasn't. And Harry, I'd walk in and Harry go, Mike, that's the best story you've done all month. So then what I started doing, when I would be writing my story and when I would be cutting my track, my narration, I would cut it and talk to Harry. And it's always good, no matter whom you're doing the report for. Think of one person, because you're not doing masses. You're talking to one person who's watching you, whether it's on the radio or it's on TV. But I would write my stories, and when I would get a story, I would say, what would Harry think about this? And that's really, I did that all the time and tried to do the stories for Harry. He was a great guy. Unfortunately, passed away a couple of years ago. But his grandkids called me after he had died. He had retired, just to say how much they appreciated and he appreciated the friendship that we established at the Circle K. Which They say you still close with everybody, in the Tampa Bay media department and everybody like that. I know you're close with Brian's Glazier still, of course.
Yeah.
But
no, I'm close. I'm very close with Dave Worth. We play golf together a lot. I'm close with Reggie Roundtree. We play golf together a lot. Mark Douglas, who's at 8 but used to be with us, is a good friend of mine. I still have some friends left at the station. There's been a lot. I've been gone almost 4 years. There's been a lot of change in that time. TV and radio and newspaper and online is a tough business. We have a lot of fun. We're able to do some wonderful things, but there's a lot of pressure there, and so if you don't produce, you're out. All of us, all three of us know that, right?
Yep.
So,
no doubt.
So there's been a lot of turnover and change at the station since I left. But listen, when I was there, I had 17 news directors. I was there 35 years, but 17 news directors. I used to tell the young kids at the station, after I had been there a while and I was the old fart, I would say, here's the deal. If you don't like the particular news director we have right now, do not get upset. Just keep your head low, because he'll be gone.
Right.
On the other hand, if you really like the news director we have at that point, don't get too close to him. He'll be gone.
Right. Yeah. It's how it rolls, right?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It is a rough rough business, but I'm just so lucky to have been a part of it for so long and still doing journalism. You know, it's the whole world has changed. Look how you're doing it, Allison, how you're doing it, Blake.
Right.
I mean, when I started in the business, none of this was available, you know, and I'm really anxious to see what will happen 10 years from now.
Right.
What is going to, I still think there could be holographic TV. So can you imagine watching the Bucs and sitting in your living room and seeing the pass in the air? Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's on the horizon, but I do know it won't be the same as it is today, but there'll always be a need for someone to write stories, to broadcast stories, whatever medium that they come through on, there will always be a need, but it may not be anything that any of us have imagined, you know, right now. I mean, like I'm wearing an Apple Watch right now.
Me too.
When I was a kid, Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy
would talk, and it's very funny. My 3-year-old grandson has seen me answer the phone on the watch. So when he's playing around, he'll take his wrist and he'll go, "I'm making a call right now." So it's pretty funny. So
or like Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Gadget was doing that too. So
yeah,
I grew up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I just don't know. It's just we don't know what's in store for us, but it will be.
That's the exciting part, right?
It is.
Say that.
The unknown. Woo.
Yeah.
I have to go, guys. I'm sorry. It's been so much fun. Thank you for having me, Blake and Mike. It was really great to meet you. I sent you a LinkedIn.
I accepted it today.
So hopefully we can connect on LinkedIn and, you know.
Maybe when all this is over, the three of us will get together and have adult beverages.
That sounds wonderful.
I am not beyond that. That is
Me neither.
For sure.
All right. Thank you, guys.
I have written some of my Emmy-winning pieces with Dr. Bombay Gin right by my side at home.
Nice. That's the way to do it. All right. All right, guys. Thanks for having me on, Blake. Bye, Mike.
Bye, Allison.
Mike, you talk about the changes in technology and things like that. Now, you know, I don't know if you know yet, we got Al Keck here, and he's on weekly, and so, he's got his own show on here tonight, which you were talking about Al Keck when Rondé Barber ran it back. I can send you the link to the show later on if you want to pop in there and show some love to Al. He's going to have Cameron Braid on tonight.
Cool. Cameron Braid is terrific. Terrific.
Yeah,
that should be good. I mean, because he's a smart guy. He went to Harvard. So it's, in fact, when Fitz threw a touchdown to Cameron Braid, I believe it was the first time a Harvard-educated quarterback threw a touchdown pass to a Harvard-educated receiver.
It was the first time.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, and he is a great. I really like Cameron Braid. You know. Yeah, he reminds me of Dave Moore a little bit because Dave was a great tight end. You know, I always used to say it's third and Dave because Dave. So and he was a great blocker too. But you know, Braid is pretty steady hands and he's big. He's bigger than Dave. So, got a quick story about Dave Moore. When the Bucs, I think it was going toward St. Louis, they had a bye. And we did a special the Saturday night beforehand. And I did an interview with Dave Moore. Went to his house. He was really nice. We're set up, and his 3 or 4-year-old daughter was enamored with the camera. And she stood in front of it as we're talking, jumping up and down, going, "Hi, hi, hi." Well, the photographer, who's a big-looking guy, leaned around at me and said, what are you going to do about this? And Dave realized it was a problem. So he said, "Why don't you come on the couch and sit next to us?" So she sat next to us, but they also had a golden retriever that was sitting on the couch. Mellow dog. In between, she would be petting the dog, going, "Nice doggy, nice doggy." Nice dog. Finally, Dave said to her, "Honey, why don't you go with mommy?" But he is a great guy, and I think one of the best color announcers in professional football. He tells it like it is, you know.
He does. He's like he's a straight shooter kind of guy. He's not gonna give you the vanilla thing. He's gonna say exactly how he feels within range. He's gonna say just say how he feels.
If somebody misses a block assignment, he'll say they should have been right there. They missed that assignment. They were out of position. I love listening to Dave.
I do too, especially guys that played the game and can actually talk X's and O's, and those guys are important, and that's the stuff I really like getting into, to try to educate people on things. So because a lot of people don't know what certain things go on, they just know touchdowns, big plays, et cetera, which is fine. Right. Being a fan and you're rooting, but some people really want to understand what really happened, what's true, what's not true, instead of and some people really want to educate themselves and get better, and that's why I feel. I've taken a personal thing, like you said, to this area. Like I told you, I never grew up here, but I've done charity here. I've given to impoverished youth here. I've done the coronavirus relief fund with Feeding Tampa Bay here. That was awesome. They gave me a big shout out. I'll send you that too. It was pretty cool, man.
I'd like to see that. Yeah,
it was pretty cool. Being shout out, and I'm just a little guy, man. And
by the way, your open looked terrific. That was big time. Yeah, I like that.
That's all my creation. And I just want to show people that you don't have to be athletes and stuff to make a difference in the community. Just the small things that you do can help somebody else out that you don't know about.
Most of us are blessed more than we deserve, and we forget that there are lots of people that haven't been as lucky. And I think we have to give back. I think it is imperative that we give back to this community. That's my thought, anyhow.
It's the truth. It's a true thought. And I wish everybody could think that way if they have the opportunity to do that. Some people were blessed that didn't get hurt in this pandemic with losing their job and all that, losing their home and things like that. It's just terrible what's happened to that. People never thought that it would happen to them, and just bam, like your status can be taken. It just, I don't want to get biblical, but you can see that you were never truly empowered. You got things taken right away from you in a blink of an eye. So you just have to sit back and realize and take your blessings and things like that with where you are in your life and try to do the best that you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I say, I have been blessed more than I deserve, and I never forget that. And the people have been wonderful to me here. I always want to be kind to anybody who comes up to me and said, I watched you, I enjoyed you. And, I like I say, I'm a happy camper. I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah, and you're working on your book, making movies, and you're doing all types of great stuff. Seems like you're more busier now than you were in show business.
Yeah, in many ways, it's true. And yeah, I'm very excited about the documentary. It's been submitted to the Sundance Film Festival. We won't find out till December whether we get in or not. But I'm really proud of the work. It's like an hour and 20-minute film. It took 2 years to shoot. I was telling you beforehand, we have 1,200 video files, more than that. It was mad. I went from Northern California, Southern California, Washington, Philadelphia. I can't even remember where else, but Alabama, Tennessee. I was all over the country shooting this. It was quite the project.
The best part about it is that you're your own boss now.
I am.
With Deeson Media, that's the awesome part. So, like you said before, you can't blame anybody but yourself, but I'm sure you're okay with that. You're the judge, jury, and the executioner on your own project here. And I'm sure you got other guys helping you, but especially with 1,200 media files, Jesus, it makes my eyes hurt thinking about going through all of those right now. And I don't do that long stuff. And I'm a perfectionist. So going through all those would drive me insane trying to get everything correct, because I am a perfectionist, especially when it comes to video editing and things like that, and making everything look proper and straight. And that's why I told you I'll help you out any way that I can. I'm pretty good at that stuff and chopping stuff up and making things work. And I'm sure you're always there to help me, especially with this media stuff and getting on camera. It's still new to me. I'm way more comfortable than the way I was in 2015. I just talk to the camera like I'm talking to somebody out in the street.
That's how you got to do it, man. You want to be yourself. You don't want to put on this fake personality or anything. Be yourself. That's the best advice I give to all young journalists. Don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you coming on here. I hope we can get you on here, weekly or whenever you got time, because I know you got very busy schedule. But people in the comments loved you. They just Joshua Cole Allen said you were a great guest. He's the one that's been doing all the interviews with the Bucs players. Johnny Dean said he would love to see some of those videos of Tony playing quarterback in high school. Johnny, I never told you, I played with his son Eric in the flag league that I played with. Actually, Mike's son Andrew. Eric played out there with us. He played wide receiver, and Eric was pretty good wide receiver out there. Looks just like Tony, just got braids in his head. But wow. he's a great athlete and a great guy, man. I don't expect anything less. Somebody coming from the Dungy tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got anything else you want to put out there, Mike? Anything else you want people to find your work at, and things like that?
My website is MikeDeeson.com. Pretty clever. So I've got a website. I'll plug the book one more time. Bad News for You is Good News for Me. It's on Amazon.com. And I hope you like it. I've had really good reviews. People seem to enjoy it. A lot of good stories about Tampa Bay sports, of course, the investigations, a little bit about the mob in Tampa Bay, all sorts of crazy stories. They have one chapter in there about porn in Tampa Bay that won an Emmy. The porn industry is huge here, and it took a long time to be able to get them to trust me to do the story. But there's all sorts of different stories in there, and I hope you pick it up and you'll like it. And go Bucs, man! I hope we get to see some Bucs games. I cannot wait to see Tom Brady unload to Gronk or Cameron Brate or Michael Evans. I just can't wait to see that happen.
Absolutely. It's been a long time in misery and a lot of bad head coaches in the past, a lot of bad roster movements, free agency pickups. It's been a lot of misery. And for those fans that have been sitting there like yourself through all that pain and heartache and blowouts.
As you have too.
Yes, I have too. It's relieving to finally see some success. Well, like I said, I don't want to get ahead of myself. He hasn't thrown a pass yet. So when all that comes and you have success here and possibly be the first team to play in Tampa Bay, I mean a Super Bowl in your home stadium, we'll see if that happens. Since you said Buccaneers already have a first Harvard to Harvard connection, see if they can be the first to play in their own stadium in the Super Bowl. And again, everybody, if you don't know who this man is, it's Mike Deeson, 12-time Emmy-winning investigative reporter, owner of Deeson Media, has a book, Bad News for You, Good News for Him.
Good for me.
And check out his documentary on Broken about elephants being abused. Mom, if you're watching this, I know you're going to read that book because since I was a child, you have elephants everywhere. You love elephants. I even remember the elephant that in Alaska, there was an elephant in Alaska that did paintings, and my mom was so infatuated with that elephant. It was in Anchorage, Alaska, in the zoo. I have very vague memories, but they sold the artwork of that elephant that was painting in Alaska. I remember that still.
Wow.
Yep. So I know my mom will be very interested in checking that out because she has some medical issues. So she's been really stuck in the house with the whole COVID thing. I can't even really go see her because I don't want to put her in jeopardy. With me being out, I have to work and all that stuff. So I don't want to put her at risk. So I know she'll check that out. Mike, I loved having you on.
Hey, Blake, thank you so much. We'll have to get together after away from the cameras and all that stuff. Yep. And thank you so much. It's great talking to you, man. This is a great guy. He's a hardworking guy. Hope you always listen to his show because he's top drawer.
Oh, Lord, top drawer. Well, there's not much more above that. All right, Mike, I'll get you out of here, let you get about your day. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll catch you next time, hopefully.
Thanks, Blake. Yep, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Blessed. Mike Deeson, what can I say? Class act. Been in this community for, 35 plus years. Great guy, man. There's nothing much I can really say that, that he hasn't already said of all the stories. He showed you where you can buy the book, where you can find everything like that. On his website, you can find his book at, I believe I have that down right here. Exactly. I know it's Deeson Media, MikeDeeson.com. Simple. As he said earlier, MikeDeeson.com. It's that simple. You can find his book there, and you can find all that information on on everything that he's got going on. And make sure to check out his documentary, Broken, about elephants being abused and all the great work that he does. So I did have a couple of videos. I'll get to you guys and pop a video here. I had Devin White mic'd up at camp, and I want to get in that, but Mike Deeson was giving such great information, I just couldn't stop. So let me get you Devin White mic'd up at camp, and then we'll just wrap up the ending, and we'll just talk. Well, we'll get mic'd up by Devin White. We'll talk about the Rays and Lightning, and then we'll wrap it up, and I'll get you some of the questions. And while I take a drink, I'm going to play this video. Check this out.
LB's on 3, 1, 2, 3. You slow. Man, you crazy. Ain't no same time, man. You slow. Antoine, it slow down for you yet?
What's up? Come on, speed.
The game, like
A little bit. It's getting there. Yeah, the more practice, the better.
Hey, that first, like, yeah. It'll slow. I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna slow down probably. You know, I'm gonna tell you, meet me at the trail ride.
Meet me at the what?
Trail ride.
Trail ride.
On the floor, to the beat, yeah, they playing my song, rocking all night.
I like
Ooh, that toe kind of hurt. We gotta turn it up. I'm gonna need my mouthpiece today. Backers on 3, 1, 2, 3, backers. Everything start with us. Be the leader, bro. Real talk. I'm trying to go Super Bowl. Y'all better start play action every time. Boy, I can't in that run game, boy. Real talk, boy. Best front seven in the league, boy. Make sure y'all talking. Make sure we talking. Hey, Flash. Hey, man, don't play with me, boy. Play with me then. Hey, we gotta have a sense of urgency out there, though. We gotta run around when we coming on and off. Hey, we gotta pick this up. Hey, real talk, bro.
That's all on the.
We gotta pick this up out here. Let's go. Hey, we won. Hey, we won unit, man. Hey, let's start it out right, man. Let's start it out right. Have fun, man. Have fun doing it. Hey, you got one coming under, bro.
Oh.
He moving. He moving.
Go ahead, Shady.
Told you. Oh, work. Good work. I'm gonna get about 5 picks this year. Yeah, I'm gonna give me some.
There he is, Devin White showing off. Let me show you one more video for a guy I told you that's going to take Will Ghostin's spot this season. We'll get predominantly of the snaps, especially on passing downs. Khalil Davis, just real quick. So I guess so you get a little taste. Khalil Davis had not much talent around him at Nebraska that season. He's going to get plenty of it here in Tampa Bay. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'm Blake Anthony. This is Sports Talk 49 live on Bucs Report every Tuesday at 3:30, giving you a legendary investigative reporter, Mike Deeson, Allison Koehler out of USA Today, Steelers Wire, and along with everybody else that does all the great things, Ray Kennedy and a Cup of Ray, Al Keck and the Al Keck Show, Peter Blake and the Sports Web, Joshua Cole Allen and the Audible, Alex Fleming, Turf Talk, Know Your Enemy. All these guys here on Bucs Report give it 120%, 365. We're on 7 days a week. You got something you need promoted, get with Keith Larson in our department, and we'll get with you and get your promotions and things like that. But we just love having you guys here. We love having you guys check out our shows. And like I said, I try to give great raw material to you guys all the time, and I try to give vanilla stuff to you. I'll be happy when September gets here so I can start breaking down tape. So I really got the remedy for Drew Brees this coming season, and hopefully the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hear me and they they do the same, because I'm sure they will. They get paid to do it, and I get paid to talk to you guys about it. Ooh, pardon me. But we'll end this as we always do. You're the master of everything. What you do with your life, what you do with it is entirely up to you. Thank you, guys. God bless. And fire those cannons.
You guys doing? Mike here from Tires to Go, and today I'm going to inform you about the amazing tools that Tires to Go provide to get the customers what they need. As you know, we have the real same as cash, but we also have Snap financing. We use Snap pretty much to provide the customers the same equipment as they were buying cash on payments. Isn't that amazing? Pretty much what we do, you come indoors, we get you the application right away, we'll get you approved, and we'll get you the safe, affordable tires that you need, and pay it off in 3 months. Simple, easy, affordable. Why not come to Tires to Go, where you get the real, same as cash.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.